lesson is lesson 46, which is pre-algebra order of operations with fractions. So we've learned about order of operations before. We've learned about the PEMDAS rule. We know that we do parentheses before we do anything else when we're evaluating an expression, and then we do exponents, and then we do multiplication and division at the same time, and addition, subtraction at the same time from left to right. So basically with fractions, it's about the same thing. So let's do an example. We're going to simplify this expression. We have 3 over 20 plus 3 over 2 divided by 5 over 2. So if I have addition and then division, I'm going to do the division first because division comes before addition in the order of operations. So how to do this, when we're dividing fractions, we have to multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I'm going to rewrite my expression with 3 over 20 plus 3 over 2. But now instead of the division sign, I'm going to write a multiplication sign, and I'm going to flip this last fraction, 5 over 2, to make it 2 over 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and evaluate that first. I'm going to put it in parentheses just to remind myself that I'll evaluate that first. And as we know, when we're multiplying fractions, we can cancel, we can pair any denominator with any numerator. So the 2's will cancel to 1 because they're both divisible by 2. And then we can go ahead and multiply the top numbers. 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5. And now I just have my addition to deal with. Now when I'm adding fractions, I need to have a common denominator. So I'm going to move this work up over here. The common denominator, the least common multiple of 20 and 5 is 20. So 3 over 20 can stay as 3 over 20, but 3 over 5 needs to be changed so that 20 is the new denominator. In order to make 5 become 20, I have to multiply it by 4. And so that means I need to also multiply the top number by 4. So then I get 3 times 4 is 12. So 12 over 20 is equivalent to 3 over 5. I've just expanded it. Now that I have a common denominator, I can go ahead and add the numerators. So I can add 3 plus 12, it's 15. The denominator stays the same with addition. So my answer is actually 15 over 20. And then I want to think about, can I reduce that? 15 over 20, I know 15 and 20 are both divisible by 5. So I can divide the top and the bottom by 5, which would give me 3 over 4. So that's an example of how we do order of operations with fractions. So I'm going to write a couple more examples and give you some time to practice it. So let's go to the bottom section of our notes here. The first example I want you to try is simplify this. We have 5 over 7 minus 1 over 10 times 4 over 5. This is a times. So go ahead and practice this. You can pause the video and practice, and we'll go over the answer in a moment. Okay, let's try to go over this now. We have subtraction and multiplication. According to the order of operations, we need to multiply before we subtract. So to remind me to do that, I'm just going to put this part in parentheses. I'll rewrite the first fraction, 5 over 7, and I can go ahead and multiply the second ones. And remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you can cancel. So 4 and 10 are both divisible by 2. So if I divide 10 by 2, I would get 5. And if I divide 4 by 2, I would get 2. So now I can multiply. 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 5 is 25. So now I have subtraction remaining. Before I can subtract fractions, I need to get a common denominator. 7 and 25. We need to find the least common multiple of 7 and 25. So if you think about that, 7's a prime number. So over here, let's just do the LCM. The LCM of 7 and 25. So 7 cannot be broken down. It's just 7 times 1. But if I take 25 and I find the prime factorization of 25, I get 5 times 5. And so to find the least common multiple, the rule is that you would multiply the prime factors. So starting with the lowest one that I see 5 and I see it twice. So I would go 5 times 5, and then the prime factors of 7 would just be 1. So I'm actually, in this case, the least common multiple is just 25 times 7. And 25 times 7 is 175. So now that I've got my least common multiple is 175, I can go ahead and subtract. First, I have to change the fractions into equivalent fractions with a denominator of 175. So the first one, what does 7 have to be multiplied in order to make 125 or 175? 7 has to be multiplied by 25. And that means I have to also multiply the top by 25. So I would have 5 times 25, which is 125. That will be my new numerator. And for the other one, what do I have to multiply by 25 to get 175? I have to multiply it by 7, which means I also multiply the top number by 7. 2 times 7 gives me 14. Now that I have a common denominator in equivalent fractions, I can subtract 125 minus 14, which gives me 111 over 175. Now, this cannot be simplified. There are no common factors, so this will be my answer for the second example. Let's just do 2 more quick examples. I'll let you do these 2 on your own. The first one will be 9 over 7 minus 3 over 7 times 5 over 2. So go ahead and pause the video and take a moment to complete that one. And then finally, the last example would be 4 and 1/5 plus 2 and 1/3 times 5. So take a minute, pause the video, and go ahead and do that one as well.